Why a typewriter? I've often asked myself the same question, and I can honestly say that I don't really have an answer. I've been writing on a typewriter since I can remember. I used to write on my mother's typewriter that she used in college. It was brown and plain, and I can never remember the model. I next used an old electric Smith Corona, one that I bought for about $35 from an antique mall in an old little town I used to live in, and another electric typewriter that you could buy new for less than $80. I think the first time I bought it was $40. The last time I bought it was $100. You can still buy it on Amazon, but it's $300 refurbished. It was a brother typewriter, I think. I gave the brother to a friend, and I lost the Smith Corona somewhere along the line while I was in the armed services. I've used a variety of typewriters since then, and almost all of them have been used. I bought them in antique malls or at thrift stores, and you used to be able to buy them for fairly cheap, sometimes as little as $20. I bought the typewriter I'm using now at an antique mall for less than $50. I've had many typewriters over the years, and sometimes they break, or I give them away, and I can't tell you how many I've had over the years. I have had maybe a dozen, and there are probably some that I've just forgotten about, but this is besides the point. The question was why. I know that the vast graveyard of books that I have written, that I just looked through today, have been mostly written on a typewriter. I have reams of notebook paper turning yellow from age and becoming brittle that are written on one typewriter or another. I can't seem to get away from them. There's just something about them. If I comb through all of my old writing, I might even find a dozen or more essays trying to answer this very question. It seems like something I have to do every time I start writing again. I stop for a time, and I tell myself, well, I'm just kidding myself, so I might as well quit writing. And this is usually about the time I start writing a book. I pull out my old typewriter, or one of them, or go find one and buy one, and I start hammering away at the keys, and I start thinking to myself, why in the world am I using a typewriter? I can tell you that it is not an affectation. It is not an appeal toward a simpler time. It is not a way to keep myself from being distracted. It just is. I wish very much that I could write creatively on a computer. The act would be so much easier. It wouldn't be noisy. I wouldn't be banished to the yard because of loud children and forced to use a few milk crates as a desk to stay out of the wind. Because typewriters are loud, and they're annoying. And if you have little girls, they sometimes yell at you if you type over the television. And if you have roommates, they get really annoyed if they're trying to sleep in or trying to watch television as well, and you're hammering away at a typewriter. I could edit almost instantly, and the bad sentences and the bad words could be struck from the record, and they would disappear like a political dissident in 1984. It would just fail to exist. I could just deny it, pretend like it didn't exist, pretend like those mistakes, the typo, all of those things were just a figment of somebody's imagination, and I could act like they never happened at all. I have only been able to successfully write one book this way, or maybe just part of it. I'd have to look back and look, but only one book on a computer, and only half of another one, and that's one I never finished. And all I can say is that they end up coming out sterile somehow. They come out like a doctor's office. They seem a type of beige or bland that I cannot put my finger on. They just don't seem to be permanent. Like they are dime store junk. Like they are the mild musings of some banal person pretending to be a writer. And I can only think of the editing that is to come, knowing that these words are quickly going to be erased and replaced with something else. The typewriter is different. You would have to come and look over my shoulder in order to see what I am writing. It is not real, or maybe it is real, or the most real thing I can write, because it is raw, and it exists only on the paper and in my mind. It is only there for my amusement. It is only just there like a secret between me and the page, or like a prayer to the mighty God. It's not just the sound of the keys either. It is everything together, even though I will say that there is a type of music there that I can't really deny. There is something there, because all of the distraction-free devices don't seem to be able to touch it. They can't seem to mimic the music of the typewriter. I have used them before. Little writing devices with little calculator-type screens, and they always have the same dead keyboards, the same type of silent, sterile writing that comes out. It might be distraction-free, it might be silent, but it's still not a typewriter. If only I could just get a mechanical keyboard and thwack away at a piece of writing and move on with my life. If only that were possible. But here I am typing away, and it seems like that is not ever going to stop.